wonderful lady, Senator Shaheen, and for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's Shaheen. You're making me Irish there really quick. Administrator Loeffler, I appreciate your being here. And I think we all support bringing manufacturing back to the United States. Actually, the manufacturing sector in New Hampshire is the biggest sector of our economy. And one of the reasons I'm such a big supporter of the SBA is because the programs that the SBA operates help us build our manufacturing sector. That's the whole point. And that's why I was concerned when I saw the budget requests a 30% cut to staffing of district offices. Administrator Loeffler, in your confirmation hearing, I asked you about ensuring that the district offices have the support and the staff they need. And at that time, you said, "You have my commitment." I'm quoting you now. And you also said, "I can assure you we will put an emphasis on the field." But I can tell you that New Hampshire's district office started with 7 staff this year. Now they're down to only 3. I was at the SBA awards ceremony in New Hampshire 2 weeks ago, and virtually every small business that got an award talked about the help they received from the SBA or the resource partners, the veteran business centers, the women business centers, the SCORE partnership, and I heard a great deal of concern about the capacity of the SBDCs to pick up that whole load right now because they don't have the staffing and they don't have the budget to do that. And so can you tell me if the New Hampshire and other district offices will be exempt from the hiring freeze so they can get back to the staff that they need to support local small businesses, and will they be able to get the resources they need with this level of funding?
Senator, thank you for your question, and I continue to reinforce our commitment to the field. In fact, not only since joining the SBA, when only 10% of the agency was in office, 90% was working from home for 4 years. We brought everyone back to the office, and I committed to having 30% of our staff in the field. We've already done that. Our small businesses, as I travel across the country, say that they've already seen a difference in the small businesses, SBA's activity in the field, and that's because not only are we back at work, but we have a new mission refocusing on serving small businesses and not serving bureaucrats.
Administrator, I appreciate that. As I said, that's why I support the SBA, and I've been a big fan of the SBA since I got involved in public service because I understand how important they are. That's why I'm so concerned that our SBA office in New Hampshire only has 3 of the 7 staff that they had at the start of the year, and they're worried about whether they can pay their bills and whether they can hire more people. So my question for you is, are they going to be able to be exempt from that hiring freeze? Are they going to be able to hire those staff back? And are they going to have the resources to operate that office?
Yes, we are working on restaffing the offices following some of the early voluntary retirements and making sure that we focus in on the field again, which again is a critical part of our service and technical support delivery along with our resource partners. And so what we're doing is focusing on the field and staffing those offices, and I think we're already seeing the impacts because of the increased loan volume.
I'm sorry to interrupt again, but so can you give me some timetable for when they might be able to expect to be able to do the hiring again to start that process?
Senator, I don't have an exact timetable, but I will work with you and your office to ensure that we do that and ensure that, and we're in constant dialogue. Unlike the prior administration, which had essentially abandoned the field, we are in constant dialogue with our regional and district offices to ensure they have
I
the
appreciate
staffing.
that, and I'm not interested in comparing the last administration to this administration. I'm interested in seeing what we need to do to ensure that our small businesses in New Hampshire get the help that they need. And that means staffing the Small Business District Office. It means ensuring that those resource agencies that are so critical have the help they need. And it means making sure that the programs that work for business are operated. One of those programs is the STEP program, the State Trade Expansion Program, which I introduced back in 2010 as part of the Small Business Jobs Act. And Chair Ernst and I have worked on making some changes to make it work better. I think it's really important because 95% of markets are outside of the United States, and only about 5% of our small and medium-sized businesses do business outside of the United States, as you know. This is a program that, again, has really made a difference for small businesses in New Hampshire, where we do a lot of exporting and we're trying to do much better. So that, again, is why I was surprised to see that that program got zeroed out in the budget request. Can you tell me what's going to replace it to help our manufacturers and small businesses get into international markets?
Senator, the number one program we can have to get into international markets for all small businesses is fair trade. That's what President Trump is fighting for. When we have fair trade, we do not have to pick winners and losers through grant programs to determine who gets to export and fight the massive tariff and non-tariff trade barriers that all of our small businesses are faced with today. So my focus is in ensuring that everyone has access to export markets and ensuring that through our international loan and trade export loan programs, that they can have a sustainable loan program and not hopefully compete for limited resources with a state-based grant that has a lot of bureaucratic costs, delays, and complexity compared to just competing on a level playing field with fair trade.
Well, Administrator, I'll tell you what that fair trade is doing in New Hampshire, because I visited a bakery in Derry, New Hampshire, that was started over 25 years ago. It was started to address sugar-free baked goods. They do 85% of their business with Canada. They used to have 25 employees. Now they have 2, because the president's tariffs have put them out of business. And I've visited multiple businesses in New Hampshire who are being put out of business by these tariffs. So while I appreciate that that's the president's idea for how to help small businesses, we have a lot of small businesses in New Hampshire who are not being helped by those tariffs. And so what I want to know is what SBA can do to help those small businesses to compensate for the impact that those tariffs are having on them.
Senator,
and that's my question. Thank you,
Senator,
Mr. Chairman.
Respectfully, we're